Grace and peace. Welcome to Sandy Hook United Methodist Church Friday intersections and preview for Sunday. My name is Paul Dezay. I'm the pastor, and welcome. Hope you're having an amazing week. Today, I want to kind of give you my thoughts on the intersection passages that we've been reading through this week, as well as give you a little preview for what we have going on Sunday. So, yeah, let's jump in. So, here are our passages for the week. We roll over here a little bit. So today we are talking about Mark chapter 10, verses 46 to 52. We read that on Monday. And then on Tuesday we read Hebrews 7. And then Wednesday was Job. And then Thursday, Psalm 34. And then today, Friday, October 22nd, we talk about the intersections. Yeah, the center point between the four. So let's jump in. Mark 10, 46 to 52 is the healing of blind Bartimaeus, right? Great story, blind beggar, side of the road. He hears that Jesus is in town. He hears the commotion. He cries out, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. What a great thing. And he said it a couple times. He gets shushed a little bit from the disciples, and finally Jesus calls to him, and he comes to him. Jesus asks the question, what do you want me to do for you? And blind Bartimaeus said, I want to see. And then Jesus says, your faith has made you well. And what a great story that is. We can learn a lot, especially as we compare to the other characters that we've been talking about in the Gospel of Mark over the last few weeks. We can talk about the rich ruler, right? Or the rich man who did not want to give up of his possessions, but yet the blind Bartimaeus threw off his coat, his prized possession, to come to Jesus. And so we see a contrast there. We see a contrast between the disciples and blind Bartimaeus. Disciples are shushing this man who is in need. Just last week they were talking about who is the greatest. So we have this contrast between disciples, one of being the greatest, and a weak person on the side of the road. Yeah. So anyway, great story about healing. I think we can wrestle with the question, Jesus asking us, what do we want him to do for us? And do we really know ourselves enough and know what's broken inside of us to answer him in a way that lines up with his will and his way? Tuesday, Hebrews 7, 23 to 28. We've been in Hebrews for the last few weeks. This is probably written after the destruction of the temple in AD 70. And so the temple and the sacrifices are no longer needed. And so the writer of Hebrews is giving us an understanding that Jesus is the fulfillment of the Old Testament. So Jesus is superior to the former priest by virtue that he holds priesthood permanently. I write that down. I said that Jesus offers the supreme intercession for humankind always and at all times. And Christ brings to end the human priest because, being perfect, he made the perfect sacrifice himself, which brings forgiveness. Thursday, we talked about Job. This is the end of Job. And Job finally confesses after wrestling with God that Job really just didn't understand God, doesn't understand his ways. He says to God, you can do all things. Job just didn't understand. And at times I think we don't quite understand God. We want to know why. And we wrestle with that, right? Quite a bit. Why? But God is, in a way, a mystery. And so sometimes we just have to kind of rest in that. And that's hard. And that's what Job got to. God's goodness intersects with our own weakness, and Job yields. The wisdom of meeting God in the midst of the suffering is that we grow in the mess. And that's what we see with Job. God shows Job mercy and blesses his life. Yeah, so mercy, big theme there. And then the Psalm 34 is a psalm of thanksgiving. It is about depending on God in the midst of strife. That's kind of a theme. God has rescued the psalmist and invites others to trust God, an invitation to the poor and the broken. The psalmist has lived in brokenness and despair, and he's experienced a rescue, a restoration, and he invites others to trust God in the midst of suffering. Trust God's goodness. Taste and see that God is good. Restoration. So, what intersections, what are the center point for this week's passages? Well, I wrote down several, and you've probably heard these words in my descriptions, but I started with restoration. The people are restored. Blind Bartimaeus is restored. He is, Jesus restores him. He heals him. Not just his eyes, right? There's this invitation to not only just experience the miracle, but to also follow Jesus. And blind Bartimaeus does that. Jesus, being the ultimate sacrifice in Hebrews, is a restoring act to all of creation. There's this renewal. We become part of God's new creation. He resurrects dead things to bring them to life. Restoration. Job's life is restored at the end. And the psalmist experience restoration and rescue. Right? So that's a theme that runs through it. There's also a theme of depending upon God, trusting in God, trusting in his intercession, trusting in his healing, trusting that God will make all things new in the end. There is a theme of wisdom in the midst of suffering. Job understands. He didn't, but he kind of gets it. And sometimes, the psalmist also, sometimes it's in the midst of our suffering that we kind of wake up to really what's going on. I think blind Bartimaeus experienced that. Imagine him being on the side of the road for who knows how long, in solitude. I think he understands what he needs. So he's able to answer Jesus's question when asked. Mercy, theme of mercy, that we don't deserve the healing. We don't deserve the restoration or rescue. But out of his mercy, Jesus was the ultimate sacrifice. He is the high priest who reaches to us through love. Right. So those are the intersections: restoration, dependence upon God, wisdom through suffering, and mercy. So what did you come up? If you would share your intersections with me, I would greatly appreciate it. All right, so what's going on at Sandy Hook this coming Sunday? So this Sunday is the finale of the Grace Habits sermon series, and we're going to be talking about the forgotten grace habits, the forgotten spiritual disciplines, ones that used to be important in the life of the church, but have just kind of been forgotten in our culture. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to kind of bring it all together. I'm excited about that. During second service, we're going to be bringing in new members to the church. So I'm excited about that. And then I'll share some pictures until first service the next week who became members. Yes, I'm really excited about concluding our Grace Habits sermon series. And then starting in next week is, or the October 31st is this Sunday. We're going to celebrate All Saints Sunday. So that's all I got. I hope you guys have a great week and weekend. Grace and peace to you guys.